Welcome to another program of Serving the Valleys. My name is Sid Morris, and today we are going to be talking about a program that is 7 years old now and at the University of Northern Iowa in the Speech and Language Department. It is called RiteCare. And before we get into RiteCare, I'd like to introduce my guest today, and that is Teresa Curry. And Teresa, your title is Director at the Speech and Language Department at UNI.
Actually, that's right. Actually, I'm the clinic director at the
Clinic
UNI Roy Eblin Speech and Hearing Clinic
Right.
in the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders. So there's a lot to that. And the Roy Eblin Speech and Hearing Clinic, which is located on the UNI campus in our department,
Right.
that was founded many, many years ago by
Right.
Dr. Roy Eblin.
Right.
And I am the director of the clinic, which serves the community and was established so that our students that are majoring in communication disorders or speech pathology or speech therapy, some people might be a little more familiar with that term, our clinic provides clients and clinical training experiences for our students in the area of speech and language disorders. And the Roy Eblin Speech and Hearing Clinic does treatment and diagnostics with all ages of persons, from 0 to elderly, with any form of speech, language, communication, hearing disorder.
I want you to know I took, 60 years ago, I took a class there called Introduction to Speech and Language.
Did you really? Were you planning on being a speech pathologist,
Well,
Sid?
that was one of the requirements for our to become certified in education. So it's...
Because it's such an important part of really any kind of
Right.
educational program. So, oh, good. All right.
And Cathy,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
And tell us about what you do at the...
I'm Cathy Wood, and I am the lead teacher for the early childhood program there at Scottish Rite, and it's called the Early Childhood Early Learning Program. And I'm the lead teacher, and so I work with the children who are 3 to 5 years old within our program who may have some concerns about speech and language delays, and so I work directly with them. And also I work with the students who are grads and undergrads who come and work in the classroom with my children who are majoring in speech and language pathology.
Oh, well, ladies, welcome today. We wanted to, our purpose today is to talk about your program, RiteCare, and why it's an important part of our educational system. I spent 40 years in education, mostly in administration, but one of the things that I learned very quickly is speech and language is so important to development of children and their success in school. And I hope we can talk about that today, and I know that's what you're doing. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. That's
Yes,
why
that is
we
correct.
have the program.
Right.
Early intervention. It's
Okay.
extremely important. And, you know, as our field, speech language pathology, follows young children with speech, hearing, language, reading disorders, we're finding more and more of our research indicates that early intervention is very powerful. So
When we started AEAs, I was on the committee that worked with Senator Grassley. Well, he was the representative at that time. We traveled to Des Moines, and that's when the AEAs were formed. Prior to that, there was almost no services for preschool children, and also there were a number of handicapped kids that were not being served too, and AEAs were formed, and for that very purpose of combining school districts to work together to provide services for handicapped and disabled children. And that's how it got started. And Senator Grassley was the one that created that. He was chairman of the committee, and as a result of it, that's why we have AEAs. And of course, when AEAs were formed, we did an excellent job working with school-age children, which was our mission. But the preschool programs, it took a long time to get those created, and some of them did not get created, and even yet today. And one of those, of course, was preschool speech and language. And that's why we have the RiteCare program and the Scottish Rite Masons in North America. They created a program for speech and language preschool children, and they funded those programs that were created throughout the state. There are about 179 of them right now in North America, so it's quite a large program. So wanted to kind of review that before we get into, because I really want to spend time on the kids and what you do with the kids today.
We are extremely privileged to be one of those 179 programs. And quite frankly, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you, Sid, and your connection, and you being a part of the Scottish Rite Masonic organization out of Des Moines, Cedar Falls, Waterloo. You know, for the audience to know, Sid came to me quite a few years back, 8 or 9 years ago, and we had talked about the dream of maybe starting a preschool type of program to serve the Scottish Rite focus, which was early intervention, pre-literacy, speech and language development. And we put our heads together and worked hard to get a program going. And we started small. We started at the UNI Speech and Hearing Clinic up in the Communication Arts Center. We found a small room, and we had about 5 or 6 children that came in 4 days a week, a couple hours in the morning. My graduate student clinicians helped out in the room, and we basically had a curriculum that focused largely on facilitating early speech language concepts, speaking production, language comprehension, you know, all the things that you'd work on in a therapy session, but we were fortunate that we could have this, you know, daily program.
You bet.
And we've really expanded since then. We got a new home down at the Nielsen Fieldhouse, which is located at the old Malcolm Price Lab School, which people may be familiar with that. And now we're going on our, you know, 8th year, and we've been very fortunate to have funding every year so that our program has expanded greatly in the number of children we serve. And we've gone from a morning program to, I call it an all-day preschool program, but we get to keep some of the kids till, you know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And with that preschool room and grouping, group focus in the classroom, we also can provide some one-on-one individual therapy, which kind of focuses on each child's individual needs for speech and language development. And it's an integrated program. So we have, you know, kids in there, you know, kind of at all different levels, and we have kids, you know, that don't necessarily have any speech and language difficulties. But they're there, and they serve as wonderful models, and they're learning at great, you know, rates and levels like our other kids. So we're proud to say it's integrated, and we kind of run ourselves on a regular preschool curriculum. So,
tell us about some of the activities that, Cathy, that you do to do what she says you do.
That's the true joy of part of my job, is being able to work with the children in the program. As Dr. Corey mentioned, we have different children that come into our program with differing levels. Not all of them have some speech concerns, and so we do use them as really great language models. In the classroom, typically our classroom is a very busy classroom all through the day. Our children are engaged in a lot of different activities such as language and math, science activities that we do with the kids. Oftentimes you will see a clinician probably working with a child at a certain, we call them stations. Typically in the part of our morning is we have children divided into a couple of groups where we work with them with different types of activities, and then that allows the grads and undergrads to work with those children within that program to be able to emphasize on some of their speech and language goals, and some of our things that I plan as far as our daily activities, which I mentioned. It could be in part in regard to math. It could be in regard to science. It could be even like a large motor activity. There's a lot of opportunity for language to occur during that time. So we have the opportunity where we're located is to have a gym. So we have some great activities that occur during that time during our gym activity. And then up in our classroom, we do many different activities. We have a pretty large classroom where the classroom is set up in different areas that focus on like either math and some of that also focuses on art, music. It also focuses on blocks and building and reading. So there's many different areas, and sensory, and so there's many different areas where our children can be engaged and be involved in their learning that they are doing. The kids also have a great opportunity, which is their favorite, is to be able to go on field trips. So I also try to provide some great opportunities for the kids to go on different field trips. We've been to Hanson's Dairy Farm, which has been a great, fun, favorite field trip. Another field trip we've gone on with the kids is to go up to the UNI greenhouse. That's a great opportunity for some hands-on learning, and that's what I really like about field trips. It really provides a lot of hands-on learning for the kids in a different type of an atmosphere.
Oh, good. And I noticed that the thing I've noticed right at the beginning is when a student comes into the program, you set an individual plan with goals and objectives. Mm-hmm. That really impressed me because I came from that field, that profession, and it is so important in education, as you know. And you do that, and I'd like for you to share how you make that work.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cathy can speak to this from the academic viewpoint. I can speak to it from the speech and language viewpoint. Each of our kids in the program have individual goals that focus specifically on speech and language development, and we set goals for the semester and the school year. And those are, primarily focused on increasing a child's ability to talk, right, and to produce clear sounds and words, to be more intelligible when they speak. We work on a lot of what I call pre-literacy, pre-reading skills, things that kids really need to know before they get into kindergarten even, which will facilitate their learning to read. My clinicians also work a lot on social interaction and the language that stems from proper and appropriate social interaction. And how we do this is I actually assign 6 or 7 graduate students every semester that go down there on a daily basis, and they work with the kids in the morning in the classroom in small groups, large groups, and then we also have a group of students that go down and do one-on-one speech and language therapy. So while our goals are focused quite, specifically on speech, language, reading, and those kinds of things, Cathy, as a classroom teacher, who happens to be probably one of the best preschool teachers I've ever had the pleasure to work with, she has goals, as every classroom teacher does, for the other, for the subject areas that are involved in a rigorous preschool curriculum. So, Cathy,
and it's very important to me as the children who are involved in our program have that language emphasis, but not only that, but the academic part, so that we are definitely preparing these children for actually kindergarten. So leaving our program, then being involved in a kindergarten program and getting those children prepared. So during the whole different semesters that we work with the children or through the whole year, then I set goals for the kids in regard to the academic areas. So I take a look at, the children learning at their shapes, colors, numbers, those kind of different academic areas and different concepts in regard to math, and then just helping those children through those different kind of areas. And then we assess the children at different times through the year, provide parent-teacher conferences so that we can provide the parents feedback. And then through those conference times, then it's a great time for me to talk to the parents about where their child is at, what are some things that we can really work on, or what are their goals. One of the first things I do as a children comes into the program is I do provide a form to the parents in regard to what are your goals for your child, in our program. What are some of the things that you want us to work on? So I try to make a really close connection with those parents in regard to what their goals are and what they foresee and what they're looking for within our program.
And then, of course, then the parents work on those goals too.
Right, they do. They work on those
Right.
goals, and it's really helpful for them as the children are in our program, and then providing that feedback of information. They might not know exactly, what areas that they need to work on. So then providing them that information and maybe some suggestions on some activities that they can do at home is very helpful for them. So I provided some of those in-home type of activities too, to make the school and home connection a lot stronger.
I can tell you that I have friends that had grandchildren go through the program, and every time I see them, they talk about the success that their granddaughter had in the program. And anyway, that kind of thing is so important and to the education of children. And do you have anything to add to that? And another thing I'd like your students, your college students that are majoring in speech and language, they have experiences that probably is more difficult to get in their training.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, 2 or 3 of my students have gone on to lead preschools around the country. Right. And a couple of them actually ended up in Scottish Rite programs in other areas,
right.
Large programs in hospitals, whatever, that serve children, and they've ended up as lead clinicians or teachers,
right.
in that type of classroom setting. So our graduate students, are very fortunate to have this right here on campus, or right at, the UNI campus. And they're also fortunate to be exposed to a good teacher that, can actually focus language and communication into all of the different subject areas. And, Cathy and I have talked about this for a long time, and we've worked through how do you make a math activity language-oriented? How do you do a handwriting activity so that it might actually facilitate a child's speech sound production? Right. And that's part of a speech pathologist's job, is to consult with a teacher and show her how to do that. But it's the teacher's job to actually be able to incorporate that. And we can show our students how that's done very effectively.
I'd like to just share with our viewers that you have a beautiful facility for your classroom.
We're very lucky about our facility.
That is just amazing.
That's part of our success, really, is that we can set up these different learning stations and have this multifaceted curriculum.
And the university, the leadership has been very supportive.
Yes, they have.
And they've visited your program and supported it, and that's important too. And it's a shared program between the university, Scottish Rite, and your staff
and the UNI Speech and Hearing Clinic, yes, absolutely.
That is so important to see that kind of thing function.
And it's important for a community, and the community deserves to have that type of program at their disposal.
Well, we have just a couple of minutes to go, and I want to thank you for coming and sharing this with our viewers. It'll be run several times, and I know there will be people interested, because I'll hear about it, and I hope I do. And
They'll be
And,
calling you. Who
right.
should we call, Sid? Okay.
But I want to just review. You at the beginning, you talked about the mission and the RiteCare program, and you took a vision and made it work successfully for children. And the Scottish Rite and parents and everybody, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
We appreciate Scottish Rite. It's kind of
I know,
made
you
it,
bet.
made our mission,
You bet.
possible. So.
We do really appreciate, all of that and the great opportunity it is for the families that we
Right.
serve here in the Cedar Valley.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much, and thank you for being on. And I think sometime we'd ought to do a visual or something. And
Be fun to
watching.
air something down there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe if Denny will let us, we might be able to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you, Sid.
You
Very
bet.
nice having
And
you.
we'll be back with hopefully another program, and I know we'll be back in another program serving the Valley. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.